Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Pick up your logo merchandise by heading over to abvnetwork.com, clicking on Shop, and start filling your basket today. We are also sponsored by the Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for something for yourself, a customized gift, or logoed items for your business gift shop, the Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. That's the number 2 in the Bar to Go. Don't forget our friends at Neely Family Distillery now ship their unique distilled spirits directly to you. To order yours, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we are going to talk about Blue Run's latest release. My name is Miss Beka Sue. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Cailee, along with our special guests, Brandon Eckhart, Cailee Baker, Danny Kennard, and Lenny Eckstein.
Hey, gang, what's up?
Hello.
Hey. So, yeah, we're going to have a fun time today. We're going to be talking about this latest release from Blue Run and the fact that Jim Rutledge is the guy who distilled that. And we're going to talk about whether that's exciting, whether bourbon fans should be interested in that. But we'll get to that after the break. For right now, Lenny said there's something he wanted to talk about. What is that, Lenny?
Yeah, well, I think we all know, and a bunch of, I would think all bourbon enthusiasts probably know that the, micro print on the back of a label that would say either distilled by or produced by, or something, some iteration of that would indicate if the product was made in-house at said distillery or potentially, acquired from another distillery, which is totally cool. There's reasons for doing that for sure. But something I was wondering about, like I was curious to gauge your guys' opinion. I certainly have my own. If one is on a tour of such a distillery who has a product that is a source product and they talk about it on the tour and we're looking at their facility, in the end, we're tasting product. Is it on them if the question is asked either directly or, somewhat indirectly, as it might have been recently, is it on them to say, oh, no, we don't actually make that product here? Or do they just let it roll and just nod their head yes? Because I've seen it happen.
I think they're crazy if they don't admit to it. I think that's going to blow up in your face. I think you need to just be, I think anybody who knows anything about the industry is fine with the fact if you're sourcing, this is a product that takes a while to age and you need to sell something out the door. And if you want to sell whiskey, you're going to buy it from somewhere if you're just opening up a distillery. So I think consumers are fine with that. If you lie with that, certainly there are customers who will never know the difference because they don't care. They're not really into it. They'll take you for your word that, I've seen people do that. I saw a guy who was telling me how great the whiskey that Wayne Gretzky's making. I'm like, okay, tell me about it. He's like, well, it's like a 10-year-old product. I'm like, didn't Gretzky just get into the business like 2 years ago? Yeah, but he makes it. I'm like, okay, so he was making it before and then just opened up the distillery. Tell me how Wayne Gretzky is doing this. So then there's a segment that doesn't even understand that the simple math doesn't even apply. But I think that as you find out that they'll blow you up, I think that's bad. I think that's a bad thing if you're anyway trying to hide. I think just be upfront. Just tell them.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Steve. I think you have to.
Yeah.
If you don't tell them right off the bat, they're going to know we share it in our distillery, distilled by or produced by or bottled by, and what those all mean. And that story's out there. And, as MGP goes through their change, they're putting their own label on a lot of stuff. And
here's the problem with that.
Get out more.
There are people that get their jollies off the ability to blow something like that up, to talk about that. And by the way, you're talking about a distillery owner who has an investment in that brand. They've paid for all this equipment, all this loans, probably mortgages their whole future, and it's going to be brought down by someone who's not invested in anything. Just has an account where they, a social media account. So they literally, it's not even like a real reporter. Back in the days, you only had to deal with reporters. People were actually getting paid by another entity that had some a little bit of investment in the game because they have a job that they work. These you're talking about people that don't have anything better to do than to ruin your business if they can.
It's funny that you bring that up. So I was watching a Netflix show on that fire festival.
Yeah.
And, the whole break of that whole thing that happened with it was one financier from New York saying, hey, here's the photos. Why don't you really show the island? Why don't you really show what's going on? Why don't you really show this? He got his jollies on trying to figure out, how to blow the lid off that story.
Right. Yeah.
There's people out there all the time like that.
Yeah.
Well,
you got to be truthful.
I want to step in here and just say from a personal and past, I guess, experience with this.
Yes.
Being a tour guide and tasting guide, the question does come up, and depending on the company you work for, you're told to do different things in response to the question. And I didn't really agree with what the last people told me to do. But I do, I think that it's perfectly fine to source a bourbon from somewhere else if you don't have the means.
So do I.
And, and even getting your specific mash bill distilled somewhere else and sent to you with your specific mash bill, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's perfectly fine to just tell somebody that you did that. But it puts you in a very difficult situation when you get that kind of a question. And 9 times out of 10, I would teach my employees to just kind of dance around the question, not really answer it directly or indirectly at all. It's frustrating that we have to do that, but that's just kind of the best way to do it, was just to kind of dance around the question,
create a diversion.
Really 100%. Yeah. So
the bottom line, it got really bad. One of the guys would fake a heart attack. He'd just drop to the floor.
Well,
he's asking too many questions.
Just fake it.
People aren't stupid. If you're walking around a distillery and you don't see the products and like equipment to, make your own mash and mill your own grain, you're going to kind of figure it out on your own. So I don't understand why it's such a secret.
Cailee, you bring up a good point. That's kind of the exact matter that I'm getting at, is on a tour, and it's happened at some pretty high profile distilleries that I've been to in Kentucky most recently. I got to scratch my head and wonder, does the tour guide not know, or were they instructed to be deceptive or
I will say at the place that I was a little bit, I was a tour guide, yes, but I was like in management and stuff. So it might have been directed to me to say a certain thing about this, that, or the other. But my employees and stuff, I'm not necessarily going around and telling them. So they might genuinely not know where the product comes from and all that.
Right. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. Maybe that's they might not even be able to tell, which is still okay. Exactly. But I still think you just need to be upfront and be like, we sourced this.
It's a confidential thing that, some distilleries have problems with it being shared, and they just don't understand the business at that point. Like it's a business full of people that understand that it's not a business that you can start right away. And sometimes you have to get help from other people. You have to rely on other distilleries to get you to that point. So I really don't see any issue with it at all. And I wish more distilleries would be more open with it. So I appreciate that question.
Danny, how about you, man? Do you care about that stuff as long as they're transparent, or are you just like, what are your thoughts?
I would like them to be transparent. Because like I said, I don't care if you actually make it yourself at that moment or you don't, or you're sourcing. It's fine as long as I like the product. But also, let's take, for instance, I went to a distillery in Tennessee, tried their product and everything else of what they were making in-house, but their bourbon they were actually sourcing at the time.
Yeah.
I hated it. I hated their source bourbon, and it was actually through MGP. Okay. Well, now they've gotten their own bourbon out now, supposedly. At least this is what I've been told.
Right.
And actually, it ain't too bad.
Okay.
And there's points in a business that, for a certain time you might have some source stuff, but like even at the place I worked, there was some stuff that we had that was full on our product, and there was some stuff that we had that was sourced. And so, there was other great stuff that we were making that wasn't aged as long, and we made straight from our still, and we did all that. But there's you just need some help with some stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong
I mean,
with that.
you asked the question. What are your thoughts? You own a distillery.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll try not to, go on too much of a diatribe about it. But I think here's what gets me, and I don't think this gets talked about a lot. I've experienced deception from some pretty major brands on their tours. And I think that in some instances, they're hiding behind the fact that it does say, produced by and not distilled by on the super small print on the back of their label. But I think that their intention might actually be to get people to be more fully vested in their brand and buy the bottles, versus if they said, oh, you could buy our stuff that's 2 to 3 years old, or you could buy this awesome stuff that's 7 to 10 years old. If somebody's at the distillery and they are aware of the fact that it was not made at that distillery, I think it's going to affect sales, be it on a tour or in a liquor store. And I gotta be real. It kind of bums me out because, I feel like everybody is on this plateau of we're okay with sourcing as long as you're transparent. Is transparency simply writing it in 6-point font on the back of the label? I feel like it should go further.
That's the problem, Lenny. And I agree with you 100%, is that it's okay to source. I actually don't really feel it's okay to source. But the biggest problem is that the general consumer, like I would say most people even listening to the show, like don't even necessarily realize how many places source from other places.
Right.
And I understand the concept of it, like, getting an older product out there. It doesn't show what it is that you actually do if you are doing something. Now, some of these big brands, they haven't actually done much of anything anyways. All they do is buy a brand.
Yeah, wear it on your sleeve,
and that's not saying it's fine, but also be transparent about it. And like you said, Lenny, the 6, the 6 font on the back that barely even says it, that the TTB let you go through with, like that does, like most general consumers would have absolutely zero idea. If they see Bill's whiskey that's aged 6 years, and then they see Jim's whiskey that's been aged 6 years, but they hate Bill and they like Jim, and they taste both of them and they go, well, I hate Bill, so I hate his product, but Jim, I love Jim. And so this one's a great product. And these are just random.
Only names. People like us.
They're random names that I was just throwing out, by the way. They're just 2 random names. But it's just funny that people will love one and they'll hate another one, and they're literally the exact same products.
I mean, I totally fall into the camp of, if I like what's in the bottle, I'm going to drink it. But I just would like to know where it's from. So, I feel like the whole subject of transparency has kind of been accepted and everybody, lets it go now. But I'd like to see a little more transparency.
Transparent, Lenny. It's not transparent at all, because the general consumer has no fucking idea about sourced products. They think that all these different brands are either like, I thought that there was a I thought there was a Blanton's distillery and there is an old Croton, but I thought that all these different places had different distilleries, all like just in general, when I first started drinking. And then on top of that, it was like, oh, okay, that's all the same place. Okay. And then it was, well, actually, so this is a brand, but they don't actually make it. And it was like, what do you mean they don't make it? It's like, well, they source it. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean? It's like, well, they buy it from someone else. You're like, well, who do they buy it from? They buy it from Jim Bob's distillery.
I do feel like we've
confusing because you have no fucking
we've
idea.
gone on a couple different roads here, though, but because there's 2 different thought processes here. So Lenny's saying that they're not being transparent enough, but and Beka's saying they're not being transparent by not saying enough, and Lenny's saying the same thing. But that is also very different than asking an employee and the employee doesn't tell you the thing. That, to me, that's a totally different matter.
That's another thing. Yeah.
The transparency, I want to see the employee say, no, we source that. And here's why. Here's why we source that.
If not allowed to say it, then that's not the employee's fault. But I mean, but even like with the employee side of things, I mean, but again, a consumer, a person that's never been in a distillery and they walk into a distillery, how would they know necessarily if they've known nothing about it They're an accountant. That's what they
That's
do.
the thing.
And so
It's
why would
only
The bottle looks like the still,
It's
so you
only
assume
people
that
like
place
us-
is distilling it, but not
it's only
necessarily.
people like us and people that are listening to this show that are really going to look at the back of the label and look for that.
Look
You
up
know,
the back of
and
the
it's
label.
people
Let's-
that like
let's play
us
that
on the
game.
tours that are going to ask that. It's not the general consumers going to be like, oh, where's your milling equipment for your bourbon? Like, you know, normal people are just going to walk through a distillery and be like, oh, that's an equipment that I don't fucking know what it is. And there's another piece of equipment that I don't know what it is. Like, you know,
Lenny,
Most people have no idea what it is they're looking for in a distillery. They have no idea what they're looking at on a bottle. If
Yeah.
it says on the back, what, Lawrenceburg, Indiana? Perchance? Where'd it come from?
Yes, it's all twisted. It's all twisted. I'm going to start off the cork pop. I've got one here that was distilled in Louisville, Kentucky. Again, doesn't tell us anything. Backbone Bourbon, are they in Louisville? I don't know, right? But they're not. We know that because if you look a little further on there, it's bottled by Backbone Bourbon Company, Indianapolis. Backbone. Now, I do know this. This comes from DSP 50. If we knew who DSP 50 was, we would know who made this. I think we do know, right? Here's cork pop. Just decent. Just decent. Could be enough. Could be enough. So, we know DSP 50 not because it's on the bottle, because it was in the barrel that they send you the barrel with that when you buy a pallet or a full barrel. So
A pallet. You bought a pallet, Steve?
well, it's on a pallet. It was actually on a pallet. They give you the barrel and all the cases are on a pallet. So yes, it kind of we buy a pallet, I guess.
The blatant lying with major distilleries to try to confuse pot still to call them still really pisses me off too. But that's a whole nother.
There you go. There you go.
That's Royce
another
Neely.
Royce Neely, folks. He's not on the show, but yes,
Not been included on this, but here he is.
there he is. He's good.
includes
He's good
himself.
because he's knowledgeable. We like bringing him in because he knows what he's doing. Kaylee looks like she's ready to go with yet another brand new bottle that we will find in her trash can. If you live near Kaylee, go by her house this week. These will all be in the trash. She just buys them to.
Hell no. This one's important. And the only reason I have this, so it's J.W. Kelly and Company, Old Milford Straight Bourbon Whiskey. The only reason I have this is because I have a dog named Millie, and when we're frustrated with her, we call her Milford. And I saw the label, and I was like, oh my God, it said Milford. So I got it. But I was interested, and I was looking at the back, and it just says bottled by Quest Brands, Chattanooga, Tennessee. And it has www.jwkelly.com. So it doesn't say anything about produced or distilled.
Cool.
Which-
It's one of Danny's favorite bourbons. So let's do a cork pop.
Yeah.
Danny did 9 ounces that one night. All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Jesus.
Oh, what the
Why
hell
do we even do this
Magic
anymore?
is going on.
Why do we do this anymore? We may be done with
Doesn't
cork
make
pops. It's over. Just Kaylee wins. That's the time. All right, Lenny, what do you got?
I've got a bottle of Yellowstone 2021 limited. Courtesy
Oh.
of Mr. Bill.
Oh my God. Okay, so I don't even win because I'm jealous of that.
Where'd you get that at? Nick?
Bill was out here. Yeah, Nick.
Bill
No,
brought
Bill
that with
just
you?
rolled through- Yeah,
Really?
yeah. It's almost a new bottle. I just couldn't. I did my typical like pop the cork and drink it in the truck.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Look at Bill. He's trying to work his way in. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, he got her.
Hell
He got her. How about that?
I'm not even mad. I would
How about
I'm lusting for that bottle right now through the Zoom
All right.
call.
Yeah. All credit to
Brandon.
Mr. Bill.
Brandon, you're next, man.
all right, it's been a long day drinking, so it's time for dessert for me a little bit. I'm actually going to go with a Fort Myers local favorite, Mr. Tom's Butterscotch Bourbon. It's still 80 proof. Let's see.
Okay, that was good. Not good enough though.
Tastes better.
Yeah.
Tastes
That
good.
was pretty good, Brandon.
All right, Miss Beka Sue, you're next. Lenny's got the lead.
I have got a bottle here
Okay.
of Deer Hammer once again.
Wow, Deer Hammer.
Decided to leave a whole box of all of his stuff here. I never actually read this part of his bottle before. Do these all say this on it? No, they don't. They definitely do not. Bottled by your bad self.
Oh, nice.
Deer Hammer Distillery.
Yeah, that's TTB word.
Bottle number 2.
Bottom number 2. Yeah.
Distillery Reserve, bottled at the source, Buena Vista, Colorado. This is bottle number sample. It's a rum.
Oh yeah.
50% alcohol, and it's selected by the ABV Network Rum Collab. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be drinking this or not. I don't really care.
Yeah, that's perfect.
No one else is making rum. So
Yeah.
No one else made any yet, so this
Yeah.
is the best we got.
Wait, did this come from the Dunder?
That one had some dunder in it, not the disgusting dunder. That one's still in the back. It's horrible. It's so bad that we can't even dump it out.
Oh,
Yeah. So no, that's only maybe a month in the barrel, but it's a molasses based.
okay.
Did this have the jackfruit dunder?
Yeah,
It
a
did,
little
but
bit.
not from the original dunder pit. It was a secondary dunder pit that didn't
Okay.
go as long. And
Secondary
it's
done.
what do they call it? Be Golden. It's a blend of blackstrap and fancy molasses.
Okay.
All right, let's see what this does.
All right. Very good. Very good. That would win on many shows, but not this one. Lenny's got the lead, which he would have been leading either way there. It was his product. But all right, Danny, you're last, man. What do you got?
A very loved bottle of Wild Turkey 101.
Okay.
And Danny.
I think that's going to be it for that bottle. No, that was horrible. That was
Yeah, this
legit,
squeak.
that was
It
legit
was so
terrible.
cute. It was like a little mouse.
All squeak, no pop. There you go. Danny, he's got that one finished. Cheers, gang.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Did who won this one?
Lenny did. Cheers to Lenny, our champion. Knocked Cailee off after her 5 straight wins. So yeah, there you go.
But I take 5. 5 is my lucky number. We're good.
5's good. Okay. All right, what we'll do next. We'll take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking Blue Run and this new release they've got. Jim Rutledge distilled it. We'll talk about how that happened, and we'll do that in just a few. Hello, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, and I'm excited to announce a brand new partnership with Leatherwood Distillery in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Many of you have perhaps heard of Leatherwood via our co-host on the Bourbon Daily, Cailee Baker, who works there. Well, they're now an official sponsor of the network, and we look forward to everyone getting to know a little bit more about them. Company founder Andrew Lang brought his brewing and distilling hobby with him during his years of service as a Green Beret in the United States Army. Whether he was at his home base of Fort Campbell or during tours of duty in places like Italy or Afghanistan, Lang distilled whatever was available to him locally. We are excited about getting to know Andrew Lang and his team better via our programming and are planning a trip down there for the ABV Network crew very soon. In the meantime, check them out at leatherwooddistillery.com, where they will ship bottles directly to you, including their special Remembering 9/11 series, which is raising money for military charities. Seriously, get out there, buy some bottles, help a good cause, and let us know what you think. We're really excited about this partnership. Hello, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, and let's talk for a moment about our sponsors, the people that make this show happen. First up is our friends at Moonshine University. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification at their office in Louisville. The information I learned through lead instructor Colin Blake and their team there is something that I continue to draw upon frequently in my role at the ABV Network. It truly is the standard of establishing a benchmark of knowledge of the bourbon industry. From history to production to brands and people, it's all there. Check out their full listing of programs, including Executive Bourbon Steward certification, production classes if you're considering starting a distillery, and much more at moonshineuniversity.com. I also want to talk about Neely Family Distillery. Back in May of 2018, I met Royce Neely at Limestone Branch's Craft Bourbon Festival. It ended up not only being the start of a great friendship, I started to truly learn about what makes craft whiskey so amazing. You see, I had been a bourbon drinker for over 30 years at that point, and like many people who had been drinking bourbon a long time, I was hard-coded into thinking big bourbon was where it was at and craft was on a journey to get there. Spending time with Royce and learning the things he does to make his whiskey taste better started to really get me to appreciate how things like sweet mashing, open top fermentation, pot distillation, and the grains you are using not only makes your product taste better coming off the still, but also out of the barrel as well. I still love heritage brands and they make up a bulk of my collection. But when you find a craft distiller that is truly dedicated to the craft of distilling, you are drinking some of the best whiskey out there on the market today. That's exactly what's happening at Neely Family Distillery today. Check them out on the web at neelyfamilydistillery.com, or better yet, stop by and see them at their distillery in Sparta, Kentucky. And now, back to the show.
Hi, this is Mr. Bill. You're listening to Bourbon Daily.
Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we're talking about Blue Run and their recent release, which is bourbon distilled by Jim Rutledge.
Yes, it is. So it's a 4-year-old bourbon distilled by Jim Rutledge. You're like, wait a minute, Jim Rutledge, he doesn't have a distillery. He does not. But he was doing some consulting work for Castle and Key. And in exchange for that consulting work, they gave him still time. And then during that still time, he was laying down barrels with the idea of, I don't know exactly what the idea was. Was it to sell those barrels down the road? We also know he was trying to open up a distillery. I think he's still trying to do that. It's proved to be a challenge for him, and he hasn't been able to get one going. Though, if I ever win the lottery, I'm going to partner with Jim Rutledge. We're going to open up a distillery. But until that time, he's kind of a free agent, and we know he's helping out a lot of brands and things like that. You'll see it pop up where Jim's joined our team, doing some consulting work. Helping them pick what barrels, all what proof it should be at, and all that kind of stuff. He does a great job. It seems like everyone that he's touched has really taken social media by storm. So he's still a big name. He's a player. But now we've got something that's actually been distilled by Jim that we have access to. First thing that we have truly major access to since, of course, he was Four Roses, which we're still drinking his Four Roses stuff. And we'll be drinking that for years to come. But are we excited about this? Are we excited about something new, distilled by Jim Rutledge? And this is only 4 years old. So, Jim's a column still guy. So typically, I don't think we get too excited about a column. But again, the wild card here is the fact it's Rutledge. So what do you guys think about this?
I'd say I'm excited as long as I can afford the bottle.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Blue Run stuff is pretty marketed up.
I think this is a cheaper one though.
Yeah, they've announced the price, haven't they? Or no? I thought it was like, I don't know. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't sky high.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Under 70.
I thought it was a little more.
I thought it was like 89 actually, but
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Terrible.
It's
If it's over 100, that's out of my comfort zone. Like I gotta
Sure. I mean, you got to save your money to be able to buy bottles and then throw them away. So yeah, you can't.
Yeah, after I cork pop them, because I don't like bourbon, I just pour it all out.
We've had this happen before. Jeff
Think
from Iowa
pour.
used to come on. Yeah, he'd
Oh
do
my
that all the
God.
time.
I think the collection behind me proves that I've never thrown a bottle out without it being empty.
Okay. Danny, what do you think about this? Jim Rutledge? I mean, he's got to be a personal hero, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm quite excited about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I've never bought
I-
a bottle of Blue Run. I will buy this bottle if I run
Mhm.
into one of these 4-year-old ones.
Right.
So,
If I can find it, yes, it's definitely going on my shelf.
yeah. Which means you have to buy more than one because Danny has a policy where he doesn't open up one. He's saving bottles. He has to get two because then he saves one for his retirement. But he assumes he'll have no income and he still wants to drink like crazy. So he always buys two. Again, if somebody says it's not for collecting, well, he's not going to collect it. Believe me, Danny will drink it. Danny does just fine on the drinking. He's getting some to save for later when he knows his income will either be lower or non-existent. And he wants to have some good bourbon then. So yeah, Danny's
Exactly.
Yeah. Over 1,000 bottles and counting. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And still keep climbing.
So it keeps climbing, which Danny does what he can to lower that amount, but he just keeps buying. So
Like 9-ounce shots.
Exactly.
That's great.
What do you think, Lenny?
I was wondering, has this happened before where, I guess in this disconnected from a brand's, I don't know how to put this, like their standard heritage, they've attached to such a well-known and highly regarded distiller to
I think this is
bolster that
unprecedented. I mean, when you're talking about modern era, I mean, like Dr. Crow moved, around back in the day. But when you're talking about modern era, and Steve Nally is a Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Famer who went from Maker's Mark to Wyoming whiskey to now he's working for Bardstown. That's kind of a big deal. But I don't look at him on the same level as Jim Rutledge. I think Jim Rutledge is in the discussion for, the Mount Rushmore of bourbon. He's one of those guys. So the fact that that he's making things now for someone else or just he made independently, I think that's really the interest here. There's just, he doesn't have too many contemporaries. I mean, Jim Rutledge is pretty far.
I mean, I guess one could argue that like Dave Pickerel had a place in that realm too, but to your point, I think it's both that he might not have too many contemporaries, but also it's I don't know. It's, to me, there is an exclusive feel. Like he's been out of the game. And while obviously you could still drink Jim Rutledge created Four Roses, I think there is something kind of exciting about, his efforts at Castle and Key and bringing this product
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, because in reality, he never really did stop. I mean, for us, the general public, he leaves Four Roses. He's done. But that was just a little over 4 years ago, and this is 4-year-old product. He started laying down stuff right away because he was this idea of he's going to open up a distillery. There wasn't going to be any gap in production then. But as we know, he just hasn't been able to do that for a variety of reasons: economy, health
I feel
concerns,
once he got outside of the Four Roses realm, he might have had a little more freedom to do, this, that, or the other to make his whiskey how he wanted. So
true.
And in a sense, Blue Run might be totally different from what he's been distilling at Four Roses.
That's what makes it interesting, right? That's why you want to try. So this is truly whatever Jim Rutledge wanted to do. This is how it's done. So let's taste it. Yeah. We do know that. When he worked for Four Roses, he was an employee. So even though he had a lot of power because he was very well respected, there are limits even with someone like that. So this is totally his because he was basically just creating for himself, which is very cool. What about Beka? What about you? Is this one you want to taste?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that this one's to me, this is probably the coolest of the Blue Run. They have.
They've had some old stuff, 14-year-old stuff. I'd rather try the Jim Rutledge. If you're like, hey, I got the 14-year-old or I got the Rutledge, I'll take the Rutledge.
I would take the Rutledge one over any of the other ones that they had all day long.
Right.
And obviously this is strictly not by taste because I've never tasted it. It's just like how cool
compelling.
it is. That it's stuff that Jim made.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, outside of Four Roses, because he's got restrictions. He can do, hopefully was able to do other things there. And so I'd love to just find out how good it actually is.
Yeah.
Because
I'll tell you what, and if this is an indicator, and this is Castle and Key's rye that's come out, Rutledge was consulting and helping with a lot of behind the scenes. What people don't realize is Rutledge was doing a lot of the work and all the whiskey that we see that's going to be coming out of Castle and Key. He doesn't get any of the credit for it because he was never, the master distiller or an employee. He was just a behind the scenes consultant, helping out with all this stuff. So as that whiskey comes out, it's going to be, heavily touched by.
I think that that's a super exciting thing for Blue Run as well, that they could get their hands on that.
Yeah.
A side note, I love Blue Run's bottle. I was like obsessed with butterflies when I was a kid, so like I really like the bottle.
They put a lot of work into the marketing of all that stuff and getting those bottles all.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, they did a lot of work.
Yeah,
with all that stuff.
They're good at marketing for sure.
They had a lot of issues with it as well, with getting the bottles correct and overspray, all those type of things on the bottles and all that kind of dumb stuff. But I think that their final product and what they can actually put out with like the different like colors of everything, I think that it's great. I think it's
beautiful.
They did a great job with all their branding.
Well, we've got a wild card here. So we've got someone who's not into bourbon like we are. I don't even know if he knows who Jim Rutledge is. So Brandon, tell us about your thoughts on this. Again, do you even know who Jim Rutledge is?
Where's Kentucky? No, I'm joking. Yeah, and you know what? I really like Cailee's thoughts on it. I'm excited to see his own mark on the bottles more than anything else. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe Four Roses was his mark. I don't think so. Let's see what he comes up with. I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, I am too. So this is, and I get it. They had the 14-year-old product and, MGP 14-year-old. It's fantastic. I love it. But you know what? I've had it before. I've had other people that have had that whiskey and I know what it's about. I don't know what to expect at all from this Jim Rutledge stuff.
But there's nothing better than being able to scratch your head and saying, what happens if I do this?
Right.
You can do that.
Also, side note, Blue Run was never MGP.
Okay.
They've only got stuff from Kentucky.
From Kentucky. 14-year-old stuff from Kentucky. That's impressive. So, Barton. I've tried plenty of 14-year-old Barton then. Excuse me. Who cares? It's Barton. It's MGP. It's 14 years old.
Difference, Steve. It's MGP or it's Kentucky bourbon. Kentucky bourbon. Like those are two different things. MGP.
Yeah, but what do you think is more desirable? 14-year-old MGP or 14-year-old Barton?
Clearly Barton because they won a double gold.
No. MGP name sells it at the 14-year-old stuff. No one's buying it because it's 14-year-old Bart in there. They're buying it because of the taste, I guess. I don't know. Or the age statement or that double gold. I don't know.
Maybe they just like the bottle.
Maybe they like the bottle. Maybe they liked butterflies when they were kids. They're excited about the brand. I know somebody is. Somebody told me that one time, a friend, that they were excited about that. All right. Well, that wraps this one up. Look for it out there. If you see it, tell us. If you see 2 bottles, talk to Danny because he needs 2. So 1, don't even call him. He
Like
needs 2.
1 for my collection of, butterfly bottles.
Yeah. What's the cork pop like, Blue Run? Is it good? If so, then Kaylee's interested. If not, she's
Yeah. Yeah, so I can cork pop it and throw it in the trash.
All right. There you go. Brandon, where can people find you?
nakedspirits.com. Also on Instagram, you can find me at STL Rum Guy for some fun side notes.
All right, Cailee.
You can find me on Instagram at the Bourbon Bakers and come see me out at Leatherwood Distillery cooking up some great cocktails. I don't know why I said cooking, but you
are baking good.
I was gonna say
bake
like
stuff there,
making great
dessert.
cocktails and baking good
Baking
baked goods. Yeah, whatever.
You're
Every
baking.
Friday, I'll have
baking
something
and
good for
baking.
you.
Bacon.
Something good for your mouth every Friday.
All right. Danny, how about you?
You can find me. I'm Danny Kennard. You can find me on Facebook.
Find him on Facebook, folks. Lenny, how about you?
You can find myself and the rest of Deer Hammer on the social media at Deer Hammer, on the web at deerhammer.com, where you can order all our bottles shipped to your door. And you can come visit us in beautiful Buena Vista, Colorado, where we're being transparent.
There you go. Miss Beka Sue.
You can find me at Neely Family Distillery, ready to take a selfie with you for Steve's new book, Bourbon
Hell yeah.
Assignments.
$25.
You can also find me on
There
the
you go.
internet at on Facebook, or not Facebook, but on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Beka Sue, 1K, no C's.
All right. For me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. I've also got that company website, abvnetwork.com. That's the one you got to check out. We got a lot of things going on there. So all of our previous shows, we got about 3,000 of them out there for you to listen to. We put our blogs out there. We've got our email newsletter out there. So much more, abvnetwork.com. Miss Beka Sue, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I just like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review that includes comments. It helps when people find the show, which is very important to us. If you like what we're doing, we ask you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ABV Network.
All right. Great job today, gang. For audience, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Before we finish the show, let's chat for a moment about Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you just want to experiment on a small scale on the stove in your kitchen or try your hand at a bigger setup in the backyard, Moonshine Still Pro can help. They have different still offerings as well as accessories and even grains from Goldstone Mill to help you make whiskey on par with what you get from your favorite distillery. They can even assist with a DIY still project by supplying some of the parts you can't make yourself. Check them out at moonshinestillpro.com. At the ABV Network, we're lucky enough to have some great friends. Amongst those friends is the Goldstein family, owners of Goldstone Mill. Goldstone Mill is a full-service mill offering a variety of heritage and heirloom grains. Their unique approach of working with mills around the country allows them to offer you affordable shipping opportunities to meet the unique needs of your distillery or brewery. They will consult with you to ensure the grains you are selecting meets the unique flavor profiles you are looking for. If you are a home brewer or distiller and you're looking for the grains that your local distillery or brewery uses, Goldstone Mill is the place to look. Check them out on the web at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or shoot them an email at hello@goldstonemill.com.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.
Bye.